There's a particular kind of invisibility that comes with working in government archives. People assume you're a dusty librarian shuffling papers in a basement somewhere, forgotten by the world and irrelevant to modern life. They're wrong, of course. But I've learned that being underestimated is sometimes the safest position to occupy. My name is Dr. Elena Reeves and I'm 29 years old. For the past 5 years, I've worked as a senior cultural property specialist with the Department of Homeland Security's Cultural Heritage Protection Division. Most people have never heard of my department. My own family certainly hadn't. Elena works with old paintings or something, my mother would explain vaguely at family gatherings. Government job. Very boring. My brother Derek, 32 and perpetually convinced of his own brilliance, was even more dismissive. She catalogs art for some federal warehouse, he'd say with a smirk. Makes like 40 grand a year to look at dusty pictures. The truth was significantly more complex. I held a PhD in art history from Yale, specialized training in cultural property law, and a top-secret security clearance. My job involved tracking stolen artifacts, protecting cultural heritage during military operations, investigating international art theft rings, and managing classified collections of artwork seized from criminal organizations, terrorist groups, and foreign intelligence operations. The paintings stored in my parents' garage, the ones Derek called garbage art, were part of a classified federal investigation. They were evidence in an ongoing case involving a Russian oligarch, money laundering through high-end art sales, and potential national security implications. Each painting was tagged, cataloged, and legally protected as government property. They were worth approximately $500,000 combined. And they were absolutely not for sale. But I couldn't explain any of that to my family. The nature of the investigation required complete secrecy. So I'd asked my parents if I could store some work paintings in their climate-controlled garage temporarily, explaining they were part of a long-term cataloging project. My parents had agreed without much interest. Derek had mocked me for needing storage space because my tiny government apartment was too small for my boring art collection. I'd let him think that. It was safer than the truth. The paintings had been in the garage for 8 months. I checked on them monthly, documenting their condition, ensuring the security seals remained intact and filing reports with my office. Everything had been proceeding smoothly, until my brother decided he needed garage space. The first indication something was wrong came via text message on a Saturday morning. I was in my apartment in Alexandria, reviewing case files for an upcoming briefing on Nazi-looted art recovery. Derek, cleaning out the garage today. Your art junk is taking up too much space. I frowned and texted back, don't touch those paintings. They're government property. Derek, all government property. They're your paintings. You said they were for a cataloging project. Me, they're evidence in a federal investigation. Do not move them. Derek, sure they are. Face with tears of joy. Stop being dramatic. I need the space for my home gym equipment. I called him immediately. It went to voicemail. Derek, this is serious. Those paintings are protected federal assets. You cannot move them, touch them, or alter them in any way. Call me back immediately. No response. Called my parents. Mom answered. Sweetie, what's wrong? Is Derek at the house? I asked urgently. He's in the garage cleaning things out. Finally decided to organize all that clutter. Mom, stop him. Right now. He cannot touch those paintings. Oh, Elena, they're just taking up space. Derek said he found someone interested in buying them. Isn't that nice? You'll finally make some money from your art hobby. My blood went cold. Someone interested in buying them? Some art dealer Derek knows. He's coming by this afternoon to look at them. Mom, listen very carefully. Those paintings are evidence in a classified federal investigation. They are tagged government property. If Derek sells them, he's committing theft of federal assets. Stop him immediately. Classified investigation? Mom laughed nervously. Elena, honey, that sounds very dramatic for some paintings. I'm on my way, I said. Do not let anyone touch those paintings. I'll be there in 40 minutes. I was out the door in 3 minutes, already calling my office. Saturday or not, this was an emergency. Cultural Heritage Emergency Line, this is Agent Morrison. Morrison, this is Dr. Reeves. I need to report potential theft of classified items from secondary storage location. Authorization code Tango Romeo 47 Echo. Stand by for verification. Pause. Verified. What's the situation, Dr. Reeves? The Volkov collection pieces in protective custody at my family's residence. My brother is attempting to sell them to an unknown buyer. I need immediate asset protection response. Jesus. The Volkov paintings? Those are hot items, Elena. Half the intelligence community is watching that case. I know. That's why I need a team there now. My brother doesn't understand what he's handling. Dispatching security team to your location. 25 minutes. Do not engage with potential buyers yourself. Wait for the team. Understood. I drove faster than I should have, my mind racing through implications. The Volkov paintings were part of a massive investigation into Russian intelligence operations using art sales to move money and potentially hide intelligence materials. We'd seized them during a raid on a storage facility in Manhattan 8 months ago. They looked like ordinary abstract paintings. Modernist pieces, competently executed but not obviously valuable to an untrained eye. That was intentional. Volkov's operation had specifically used mid-level artwork that could move through markets without attracting too much attention. But hidden within the paint layers were documents, microdots, and encoded information. Each painting was evidence of espionage, money laundering, and sanctions violations. They were critical to a joint investigation involving DHS, FBI, CIA, and Treasury. And my idiot brother was trying to sell them to some art dealer. I arrived at my parents' house in Chevy Chase 38 minutes later. Derek's truck was in the driveway along with an unfamiliar black SUV. I was too late. The buyer was already here. I parked and called Morrison. On site. Unknown vehicle present. Buyer may already be here. Team is 3 minutes out. Wait for backup, Elena. Copy. I stayed in my car watching the house. Through the garage window I could see figures moving. 3 people, maybe 4. My phone rang. Derek. Where the hell are you? He demanded. This dealer is ready to make an offer, but he wants to talk to the owner. Get over here. I'm outside, I said calmly. Derek, who is this buyer? Art dealer from Georgetown. Friend of a friend. He specializes in modern abstract work. Says these pieces could be worth something if they're authenticated properly. What's his name? Why does it matter? Are you coming in or not? He's ready to offer $12,000 for the whole collection. $12,000. 4 paintings worth $500,000, containing classified intelligence materials. This wasn't a legitimate art dealer. This was someone who knew exactly what those paintings were. Derek, I said carefully, I need you to listen very carefully. Do not sell those paintings. Do not let that man leave with them. I'm calling the authorities right now. The authorities? Lena, what the fuck? These are your paintings. They're evidence in a federal investigation. That man is not an art dealer. He's trying to acquire classified government property. You're insane, Derek said. I'm selling them. You can pick up your check later. He hung up. I immediately called Morrison. Buyer is attempting to acquire items now. Brother is proceeding with sale. I need that team here immediately. 90 seconds out. I got out of my car and walked toward the house. Through the garage window I could see Derek handing paintings to a man in an expensive suit. 2 other men stood nearby watching. I opened the garage door. All 4 men turned to look at me. Elena. Derek said irritably. Finally. This is Mr. Petrov. He's buying your paintings. Russian name. Of course. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding, I said calmly, pulling out my credentials. Dr. Elena Reeves, Department of Homeland Security, Cultural Heritage Protection Division. These paintings are protected federal assets. They are not for sale. Derek stared at me. Department of Homeland Security? These items are evidence in an ongoing federal investigation, I continued, focusing on Petrov. They are tagged and cataloged as government property. Any attempt to purchase or remove them constitutes theft of federal assets. Petrov smiled slightly. I think there is confusion. Your brother has right to sell family property. These are not family property. They are evidence in the Volkov investigation. I believe you're already familiar with that case, Mr. Petrov. His smile disappeared. Elena, what the hell are you talking about? Derek demanded. These are your paintings from your cataloging project. They're evidence, I repeated. Part of a classified investigation into international art trafficking and money laundering. I stored them here under protective custody protocols. You've just attempted to sell government property to someone with likely connections to the original criminal organization. This is ridiculous, Derek said. They're just paintings. They're evidence of espionage operations, I said flatly. And Mr. Petrov knows exactly what they are. Petrov moved toward the door. His two associates moved with him. I think there is mistake, Petrov said smoothly. We leave now. No one is leaving, I said. You cannot stop us, one of the associates said, his accent heavy. Actually, I said, I can. I pressed a button on my phone. All units, this is Dr. Reeves. Subjects attempting to flee with classified items. Authorization to detain. The garage suddenly filled with people. DHS security teams came through both doors, weapons drawn, vests clearly marked. 8 agents moving with practiced precision. Department of Homeland Security. Nobody move. Derek screamed and dropped a painting. Petrov's associates reached for weapons, but the DHS team was faster. Hands. Show me your hands. Within 30 seconds all 3 men were on the ground being handcuffed. Derek stood frozen against the wall, hands up, face white with shock. My mother came running from the house. What's happening? Elena, what's... She stopped, staring at the armed agents in her garage. Mom, stay back, I said. Agent Morrison came through, badge out. Dr. Reeves, subject secured. We've got the paintings. You want to explain what the hell happened here? I gestured to Derek. My brother attempted to sell classified evidence to what appears to be a Russian intelligence asset. He was unaware of the nature of the items. He tried to sell the Volkov paintings? Morrison's eyes widened. Jesus Christ. Volkov paintings? Derek said weakly. What are Volkov paintings? Evidence in a major counterintelligence operation, Morrison said sharply. You just tried to sell classified government property to Russian intelligence operatives. That's about 15 federal crimes right there. I didn't know. Derek shouted. Elena said they were for a cataloging project. She never said they were classified. Because the investigation is classified, I said. I couldn't tell you. That's why I explicitly instructed you not to touch them. You said they were government property. I thought you were being dramatic. I'm a federal agent, I said. When I say don't touch something, it's not drama. It's law. Morrison was photographing the scene. Who initiated contact with the buyers? I did, Derek said miserably. I posted on a community board that I had abstract paintings for sale. This guy Petrov reached out within an hour. Within an hour, Morrison repeated. Because they've been watching for these paintings. They knew they were here. I felt cold. They've been surveilling my parents' house? Likely. The Volkov organization has extensive intelligence resources. They probably tracked the paintings here months ago and have been waiting for an opportunity. Morrison looked at Petrov, now handcuffed on the ground. We'll need to sweep the entire property for surveillance equipment. Surveillance equipment? Mom said faintly. In our house. Ma'am, your daughter is protecting evidence in a case involving Russian intelligence operations, Morrison explained. These aren't just paintings. They contain classified materials hidden in the paint layers. They're worth approximately $500,000 and represent critical evidence in multiple ongoing investigations. Derek's legs seemed to give out. He slid down the wall to sit on the garage floor. $500,000? At minimum, I said. And that's just their monetary value. Their intelligence value is significantly higher. I almost sold them for $12,000, Derek whispered. You almost sold classified government property to foreign intelligence operatives, Morrison corrected. Which is significantly worse than just a bad financial deal. More vehicles were arriving. FBI, I recognized their windbreakers. Someone from CIA by the look of their credentials. This was escalating into a full interagency response. A woman in her 50s approached, FBI badge visible. Dr. Reeves? Special Agent Catherine Walsh, FBI Counterintelligence. I understand you've had an interesting morning. That's one way to describe it, I said. We're going to need detailed statements from everyone present. Your brother, your parents, the subjects we just apprehended, and you. She looked at the paintings still stacked against the garage wall. And we need to secure these items immediately. They should never have been in unsecured civilian storage. They were in protective custody, I said defensively. I followed all protocols for secondary storage of evidence. Protocols that clearly didn't account for family members attempting to sell them, Walsh said dryly. We'll be reviewing those protocols. Fair point. Dad had joined Mom, both of them staring at the scene in shock. Armed agents were photographing evidence, documenting the attempted transaction, processing the 3 suspects. Elena, Dad said slowly, you work for Homeland Security? For 5 years, I confirmed. Cultural Heritage Protection Division. We investigate art theft, artifact trafficking and cultural property crimes. This case involves Russian intelligence using art sales for money laundering and espionage. And you stored evidence in our garage, Mom said. With your permission, yes. I couldn't explain the full nature of the items due to classification requirements. I told you they were government property and asked you not to touch them. We didn't, Dad said. Derek did. Derek was still sitting on the floor, head in his hands. I'm going to federal prison. That depends, Agent Walsh said, kneeling next to him. Did you know these were government assets when you attempted to sell them? No. Elena told me not to touch them, but I thought she was being paranoid. She's always weird about her work stuff. I thought they were her personal paintings from some boring project. But she explicitly told you they were government property? She said that, yeah. But I don't know what I thought. That she was exaggerating. Being dramatic. Derek looked up at me, tears in his eyes. I didn't know you were actually a federal agent. I thought you cataloged art in a warehouse. I do catalog art, I said. Art that's been seized in criminal investigations. Art connected to terrorism financing, money laundering, sanctions violations. Art that contains hidden intelligence materials. I gestured to the paintings. Like these. Agent Morrison had been examining the paintings more closely. Dr. Reeves, we need to transport these immediately. If the Volkov organization knew they were here, we have to assume the location is compromised. Agreed. Where are we relocating them? Federal facility in Quantico. Full security protocols. No more civilian storage locations. Understood. Derek found his voice again. Am I under arrest? Walsh considered. That depends on your level of cooperation and intent. You claim you didn't know these were classified government assets. Your sister claims she told you they were government property. We have text messages that likely prove that. So the question is, were you criminally negligent or criminally intentional? Negligent, Derek said immediately. I'm an idiot who didn't listen to my sister. I'm not a spy. We'll verify that, Walsh said. But for now you're not under arrest. You're a witness to attempted theft of government property by foreign nationals. We'll need your full cooperation. Yes. Anything. I'll cooperate completely. Walsh turned to me. Dr. Reeves, we need to debrief you on security protocols. Your family residence is now a compromised location. We'll need to sweep for surveillance, interview neighbors, trace how Petrov knew to target this location. I understand. The next 3 hours were a blur of statements, interviews, photographs, and security sweeps. The FBI found 2 cameras hidden in trees near my parents' property, watching the garage. They'd been there for at least 4 months. Professional installation, the tech specialist said. These are high-end surveillance equipment, not something you buy at Best Buy. Whoever placed these had training and resources. The Volkov organization has connections to Russian intelligence services, I explained. They have access to sophisticated technology. That's a problem, Walsh said. If they've been watching your family for months, they know your patterns, your routines, your vulnerabilities. This house isn't safe. Mom looked terrified. Not safe? What does that mean? It means the people trying to steal these paintings are part of a larger criminal organization with significant resources, Walsh explained. They may try again using different methods. We recommend you and your husband stay elsewhere for a few weeks while we assess the threat level and ensure they've moved on to other targets. Stay elsewhere. Dad said. This is our home. It's a home that's been under surveillance by foreign intelligence operatives, Walsh said firmly. Until we're certain the threat has passed, it's not safe. My parents looked at me, accusation in their eyes. You brought this here, Mom said quietly. You brought criminals to our house. I stored evidence in a secure location following all approved protocols, I said, keeping my voice level despite the guilt churning in my stomach. I had no reason to believe the location had been compromised. I checked the paintings monthly. There were no signs of surveillance or tampering. But they were watching, Dad said. They were. And we caught them. If Derek hadn't tried to sell the paintings, we might never have known the location was compromised. In a strange way, his actions exposed the surveillance operation. Don't try to make this sound like I helped, Derek said bitterly. I almost sold classified evidence to Russian spies. You did, I agreed. And you'll have to live with that. But your intent matters. If you genuinely didn't understand what you were handling, that's different from deliberately trying to sell government assets. I genuinely didn't understand, Derek said. Because you never told me. Because the investigation is classified, I repeated. I can't explain classified operations to civilians, even family members. That's not paranoia or drama. That's federal law. Agent Morrison approached with a tablet. Dr. Reeves, we need your authorization to transport the collection to Quantico. Full chain of custody documentation. I reviewed the forms and signed digitally. Collection transferred to FBI custody for secure storage pending completion of Volkov investigation. Confirmed. Transport team is loading now. Through the garage door, I watched agents carefully carrying the paintings to an armored truck. Each piece was photographed, documented, and secured in climate-controlled cases. $500,000 worth of evidence, containing materials that could expose Russian intelligence operations. Almost sold for $12,000 because my brother needed garage space. Walsh finished her notes and looked at Derek. Mr. Reeves, you're not being charged at this time. However, you will remain available for further questioning. Do not leave the area without notifying us. Do not discuss this incident with anyone outside your immediate family. And for God's sake, don't try to sell anything else without verifying what it actually is. I won't, Derek said miserably. I swear. Good. Because if this had gone differently, if those paintings had left this garage, you'd be facing 20 years in federal prison for theft of classified materials, aiding foreign intelligence operations, and compromising national security. Derek went even paler. As it is, Walsh continued, you're incredibly lucky your sister was able to respond quickly and that our team was nearby. This could have been a catastrophic intelligence failure. I understand, Derek whispered. Walsh turned to me. Dr. Reeves, good work on the rapid response. Your documentation and quick action likely prevented a serious breach. However, we will be reviewing protocols for evidence storage in civilian locations. This incident has exposed vulnerabilities we need to address. Understood, Agent Walsh. I'll cooperate fully with any review. See that you do. He handed me a card. My direct line. If your family experiences any suspicious activity, surveillance, unusual contacts, threats, call immediately. The Volkov organization doesn't give up easily. How much danger are we in? Dad asked quietly. Minimal if they've moved on to easier targets, Walsh said. But remain vigilant. Report anything unusual. We'll have increased patrols in this area for the next few weeks. The agents finished packing up. The armored truck drove away with the paintings. The surveillance equipment was bagged as evidence. The three suspects, Petrov and his associates, were transported to FBI headquarters for interrogation. By early afternoon, my parents' garage was empty except for normal family clutter. The paintings were gone. The armed agents were gone. The surveillance cameras had been removed. It looked like an ordinary suburban garage again. Except nothing felt ordinary anymore. My family sat in the living room, shell-shocked and silent. Finally, Derek spoke. I'm sorry. For what specifically? I asked. For not listening. For thinking you were being dramatic. For almost selling classified evidence to Russian spies. He laughed bitterly. Take your pick. You didn't know, I said, though the words felt hollow. You told me they were government property. You told me not to touch them. I should have listened. He looked at me. I always thought you were the boring one. The unsuccessful one. Turns out you're protecting the country from Russian intelligence operations while I'm trying to sell your evidence for garage space. My job isn't glamorous, I said. Most of it really is cataloging art in warehouses. Documenting provenance, tracking stolen items, filing reports. This level of excitement is rare. But important, Dad said quietly. What you do is important. Yes, I agreed. It is. Mom was crying softly. Those men were watching our house. For months. They were watching the paintings, I corrected gently. You weren't in danger. They just wanted to know where the evidence was. And now they know, she said. They know because of Derek. They already knew, Walsh had explained. The surveillance cameras were installed months ago. Derek's attempted sale just gave them an opportunity to try to acquire the paintings. We would have found the cameras eventually during a routine security check. When? Mom demanded. How often do you check? I hesitated. Every 6 months for secondary storage locations. 6 months, she repeated. They've been watching us for 4 months. You wouldn't have found them for another 2 months. She was right and I had no good response. This is what happens when you bring your work home, Dad said. Literally. I followed all approved protocols, I said again, knowing it sounded defensive because it was defensive. Secondary storage in climate-controlled civilian locations is standard procedure for evidence that doesn't require maximum security facilities. These paintings were mid-level classification, not top secret. The protocols were appropriate for the threat assessment at the time. But the threat assessment was wrong, Derek said. Yes, I admitted. It was. We underestimated the Volkov organization's resources and determination to recover these specific items. Why these paintings? Mom asked. What makes them so special? I hesitated, weighing classification restrictions against my family's right to understand what they'd been involved in. The paintings contain information hidden in the paint layers, I said carefully. Bank account numbers, transfer codes, communication protocols. Volkov was using art sales to move money and intelligence materials internationally. These specific paintings contain evidence linking the operation to Russian government officials. They're critical to proving state sponsorship of the criminal organization. So they're not just paintings, Dad said. No. They're intelligence assets disguised as paintings, which makes them extremely valuable and extremely dangerous. And you stored them in our garage, Mom said. With your permission, following approved protocols, I said. I couldn't explain the full context due to classification, but I followed all rules. Rules that almost got Derek arrested, she said. Derek almost got himself arrested by ignoring explicit instructions not to touch federal property, I countered. I told him they were government assets. I told him not to move them. He chose to ignore that because he didn't respect my work or my judgment. Derek flinched. That's fair. None of this is fair, Mom said. Fair would be you having a normal job where Russian spies don't watch our house. I have an important job, I said quietly. A job that protects cultural heritage, recovers stolen art, and occasionally prevents foreign intelligence operations from succeeding. I'm good at it. And I won't apologize for that, even if it's not the comfortable, uncomplicated career you'd prefer. Silence fell again. Finally, Dad spoke. What happens now? Now the FBI interrogates the 3 suspects, I said. They'll likely face federal charges for attempted theft of government property, espionage-related activities, and probably immigration violations. The paintings are secured at Quantico. The investigation continues. You and Mom follow FBI recommendations about security precautions. Derek cooperates with any further questioning. And I return to work. That's it. Derek said. Life just goes back to normal? Define normal, I said. You almost facilitated an intelligence breach. That doesn't just disappear. You'll be on watch lists now. Your communications might be monitored. When you travel internationally, you'll get extra scrutiny at customs. You've entered the security apparatus, Derek. Welcome to my world. He looked sick. But you're not going to prison, I added. Which, given what almost happened, is extraordinarily lucky. Agent Walsh could have arrested you for criminal negligence. She chose to believe your ignorance was genuine. Don't make her regret that decision. I won't, he promised. Elena, I really am sorry. For all of it. For not taking you seriously, for mocking your work, for thinking you were unsuccessful and boring. You're protecting the country and I'm selling art to Russian spies for garage space. I'm the failure here, not you. It was probably the most sincere thing Derek had ever said to me. You're not a failure, I said. You're careless and arrogant, which is different. Learn from this. Listen when people tell you something is important. Respect expertise you don't understand. And for God's sake, don't sell things that don't belong to you. Noted, he said weakly. My phone buzzed. Text from Morrison. Subjects being processed. Initial interrogation confirms they're Volkov operatives. You were right about everything. Good instincts, Dr. Reeves. I showed the message to Agent Walsh, who was still coordinating with the sweep team. Confirms our intelligence, she said. These weren't random art dealers. They were specifically targeting the Volkov evidence. Your brother's attempted sale gave them the perfect opportunity. And my rapid response prevented it, I said. It did. You'll be commended for this. Probably accelerate your next security clearance upgrade. Walsh glanced at my family. Though I'd recommend future evidence storage in facilities without well-meaning but catastrophically careless family members. Already noted in my incident report, I said dryly. By evening, the FBI had concluded their initial investigation. My parents were cleared to remain in their house, though they chose to stay with my aunt for a few weeks, just to be safe. Derek was released without charges but remained under observation. And I returned to my apartment in Alexandria, where my actual art collection, personal pieces I'd collected over years, nothing classified or dangerous, hung on the walls in peaceful normalcy. My phone rang. Director of Cultural Heritage Protection Division. Dr. Reeves, Director Sarachin said, I've reviewed the incident report. Hell of a Saturday you had. Yes, ma'am. Your brother tried to sell the Volkov paintings to Russian operatives. He did. Unknowingly, but yes. And you prevented a catastrophic intelligence breach through rapid response and proper protocol execution. I did my job, ma'am. You did it exceptionally well. The FBI is impressed. So am I. However, we will be revising protocols for evidence storage in civilian locations. This incident has exposed vulnerabilities we need to address systemically. I understand. I'll cooperate fully with any review. See that you do. Also, Dr. Reeves, when this case closes, you're getting a commendation. And probably a raise. Good work. She hung up. I sat in my quiet apartment surrounded by my actual art collection. Pieces I'd bought legally, owned personally, and could display without FBI security protocols. My phone buzzed again. Text from Derek. Thank you for not letting me go to prison. I'll be less of an idiot from now on. Promise. I texted back. See that you are. And Derek? My job isn't boring. It's just classified. There's a difference. Derek, I know that now. I'm sorry I didn't know it before. 3 weeks later, the Volkov investigation concluded with 14 arrests, asset seizures totaling $50 million, and diplomatic protests from Russia. The paintings, fully analyzed and documented, revealed evidence that contributed to sanctions against 12 Russian officials. Derek never tried to sell anything of mine again. My parents finally understood that my boring government job was actually protecting national security. And I received a formal commendation from the Department of Homeland Security for preventing the theft of classified materials and protecting critical intelligence assets. The commendation didn't mention that the classified materials were paintings stored in my parents' garage, or that my brother almost sold them to Russian spies for $12,000. Some details are better left out of official records. But I keep a copy of Derek's text message, the one where he apologized and called himself an idiot. Because sometimes family needs to learn respect the hard way. Especially when the garbage art collection turns out to be evidence in international espionage investigations worth $500,000. And protected by someone they thought was just a boring government clerk who cataloged paintings in a warehouse. Underestimation, I've learned, works both ways. Usually to my advantage.